Hello everyone. I welcome you all to ManageEngine Applications Manager free training series. So this is season 4 of 2025. This is the fourth and final season, and we are in part 1, application-centric infrastructure monitoring. For today's agenda, we'll take a look at these topics. So first we'll cover how you can auto-discover components and dependencies across your entire application infrastructure stack. And then we'll take a look at the key performance metrics of your applications, databases, and your servers. And then we'll move on to how you can utilize the AI and the ML based machine learning to detect anomalies, reports, as well as we'll have a review at the dashboards. And finally, we'll conclude the today's training with the integrations available in Applications Manager out of the box, as well as the third-party integrations. So let's get on to the first topic of the day, auto discover components and depend across application stack. So let's consider a problem scenario. So we have our IT administrator, Jim, who is responsible for monitoring and managing the entire infrastructure, where you have multiple applications like your on-prem applications, your cloud applications, your container platforms, you have your web servers, your URLs, your certificates, including your databases, also your in-house developed applications, right? So such a large enterprise to manage your infrastructure, there are many challenges for our IT system administrators. And some common challenges are lack of visibility into the infrastructure. And so when you don't have a proper documented applications and services, that will lead to the potential security issues. So when you don't have a proper visibility, investigating a issue or even to identify where the issue is will increase the mean time to resolve your issue. And also insufficient allocation of resources could possibly happen when you have a large enterprise. Comparatively, it will also have cost overrun for your infrastructure. So how can you overcome all these challenges with the help of Applications Manager? We have a feature, automatic discovery and dependency mapping, that could help you remotely sweep your entire infrastructure with the help of network discovery. And it will also help you understand how your application and services in your architecture connect and communicate. And with the help of that, you can get a holistic view that could identify operational issues as well as understand the problems down to the instance level. So in automatic discovery, we have the inventory automation of 3 types, which is bulk discovery, network discovery, and also virtual infrastructure discovery. So now that we've covered the discovery part and how you can onboard, the dependency mapping is going to help you give you a business view of all the discovered applications. It's going to show you how the server to server communication happens, how an application connects to the server, or a application to application dependency. And this business view could help you show you a live status of your operational devices, and also it will help you identify any applications or devices that are down. And the business view will have a quick pop-up where you can see the RCA message. Say, for example, an application or a server is down, it will have a LED indicator like red or an amber. So if you just hover your mouse on top of it, it's going to show you the exact root cause of what's happening and why the device is not functioning properly. So let's take a quick look at the console on how you can onboard monitors and perform a discovery. So this is a login page of Applications Manager. So as soon as you log in, you're going to get the dashboard. And this is a default dashboard where you have multiple widgets. You can customize it. We'll take a look at the dashboards later. So what we are interested here is settings, and then under discovery and data collection, go to add or discover. And you will be presented with the add new monitor page. And on the left side, you can see there are like multiple categories like applications, servers, cloud applications, databases, and then you have like EUM end user monitors, mail servers, your servers and services and everything. And all these categories will have like multiple monitor types within them where you can choose to onboard any of them. So if I choose the Linux server, I'm going to be presented with the monitor type, what I need to enter. And on the right side, you can see a help card. So this help card will have an information on what I need to enter here to onboard that specific Linux server. And it will also contain information on what is the prerequisite in order to onboard the monitor. Say, for example, what user, I mean, the user account, what are the permissions required for that user account, what port number needs to be opened. Such key information is given on the help card for all the monitor types that you choose. And once you add all the details, you're just going to add the monitor and it's going to start collecting data and the performance metrics will be monitored. So this is like single monitor. I have a resource that I want to onboard and I can do it this way. Say you have an inventory, like you have a sheet. I have like hundreds of monitors that I need to onboard. So in that case, we can make use of the bulk import option. To the bulk import option, we have supported multiple monitor types where you will also see a help card after you choose what monitor type that you're going to onboard. So say I'm going to choose, I have a list of inventory of servers that I need to onboard. The help card is going to give me what needs to be entered in the CSV file. So we've also given a sample CSV file for you to download here, and you can enter the details that is given under the header. So these are mandatory fields like you need to have the display name, the host name or the IP address, what is the user credentials, and what is the polling interval for that server that you need to onboard. So let's say I'm going to choose a file here and choose a server example CSV and go next. It's going to give me the list of monitors to be added, which is mentioned in that CSV. So you can see the host name details, the port number, the timeout value, and the user credentials, and so on. So once you start discovery here, the applications manager is going to try and reach out to all the servers that is listed here, try to authenticate and give you a summary of the results, whether if they're successful or if they are failed. So if they have failed, it's also going to give you a message, the reason, whether if it's a communication issue or an authentication issue. That sort of results will be obtained, and then you can work on what are the the failed devices. So the next discovery option we are going to see is the network discovery. So I'm going to proceed with adding a new discovery here. So I'm just going to give a name for the discovery. So how this works is we have to give a range of IP address. So within this range, the network discovery is going to be performed. So it's going to scan for that range, the IP address, as well as the port numbers that we are going to give. So we'll give a range of IP address and we'll see what is the next option that it's going to ask me. I'm just going to give 100 and go next. So now it's going to give me an option to select application. So there are servers that are going to be discovered like using SNMP, SSH, or Telnet that are running on these ports. So if you don't have the default port numbers, you can actually customize, give a comma, or change the port number that is given here. And also, these are all the applications supported for network discovery. So if you don't have any of these applications running on your infrastructure, you can just like uncheck the boxes and that application discovery will not happen. And for the applications also, if you don't run them on the default ports, you can change the port numbers here. If you have the same application running on multiple port numbers, you can give the port numbers here and the discovery will be performed and tested on that respective port number. And go next. Now it's going to be requiring for the credential. So the applications manager is not only going to perform the discovery on the range of IP addresses or select or scan the port numbers that is given. It's also going to try and authenticate itself for those applications given and fetch the details for onboarding. Say if I have an Oracle database given on that discovery, or SQL database, and any WMI production servers, right? I can choose the credentials here. Or if I don't have the credentials already added, we have given an option to add credential. You can select the type of application, give the credentials, and then proceed next. So this is the final state of the discovery where we are going to be given scheduling the discovery. By default, the disabled option is going to show, it's going to run only for that particular instance, and then the discovery will not happen continuously. Say you have given a range of IP address, like hundreds of range, and you have plans to add more applications later. In that scenarios, you can give or schedule the discovery, where if you onboard new applications, that newly discovered applications will be fetched by Applications Manager. And we have also given an option to scan or scan and add. So if you perform a scan, it's only going to discover the applications and give you a summary of all the devices discovered. And if you choose scan and add, it's not only going to perform the discovery of the servers and applications, it's also going to onboard them automatically for all the applications that are successfully discovered. So for the failed applications, you can also get a summary where you will see what is the exact message, the reason for the failure. So now that we've seen how you can onboard and perform a discovery, let's take a look at the dependency map, right? So let's consider this particular discovery that has happened, the production DB, where we have three resources on that particular server. We have a SQL database and a Microsoft MQ running. And if I choose the dependency for this, we are going to see something like this, where we can see the server is communicating with two different applications. And if there is a dependency from that database to another application, that dependency will also be shown. And if you hover your mouse on top of it, we are going to get a pop-up window where it shows the exact root cause message of why the device is critical or it's down. And get a full view of your application infrastructure with the help of ADDM feature in Applications Manager. Let's move on to the next topic, where measure key performance metrics across your application infrastructure. So let's consider a problem scenario. So all IT infrastructure would like to have a view, a single view of your entire infrastructure, where you can get cross-domain insights, instant troubleshooting, that is to show any anomalies instantly, and also have an option to correlate the alarms or where the dependency is. However, what's the reality is, we have all our different infrastructure teams, network teams, or infrastructure or development teams separately, where they have and manage their own tools for their applications monitoring. Right? When you have an application issue, you try to reach out to the application team. The first reply that we might get is like, this is not an application issue, try to reach the database or try to reach to the network team. When you reach that team, they are going to point hand to a different team. So this is common issue in all infrastructure, right? So how can you overcome? What are the key parameters that you can keep track with the Applications Manager, so that you don't have to go around all the teams, where you can have one consolidated view, right? So what constitutes an issue? The application level, you need to make sure that all the application unhandled exceptions are addressed and tracked. At the operating system level, you need to make sure that the servers are properly provisioned and all the servers have a proper virtual resource. And at the network level, we need to reduce the error rates and also make sure there are no excessive network utilization. And at the hardware level, the server availability itself is a key, and also make sure there are less hardware related problems, right? So let's focus on what are the key parameters on these infrastructures. So first we'll discuss the application servers. In any application that you take that for monitoring, like Java based or .NET, any application, these are some of the key parameters to focus, including the availability, right? So the request throughput, the number of threads running on the application, the server response time. We need to make sure that all the incoming requests are responded properly. The heap memory, right? So we have heap memory and the non-heap memory usage to be tracked properly. The connection details itself, because the number of connections, active connections, means that we need to also have room for the newer incoming connections for the applications, right? So if we have control of these these key parameters, we can make sure that the application is running properly, right? So now let's take a look at the database key parameters. So we have query performance. Uh, we all know that one particular query running for a longer time or it's taking high resource consumption could actually bring the entire database down, right? The number of database connections, because you need to keep that in check. All applications or incoming connections needs to have room for more database connections. The backup and jobs are one of the key parameters for the database, because if the backups are not run and if we run into any error, we don't have an option to go back, right? And we need to make sure the jobs are run properly and you're also getting proper notifications. And the log statistics, you need to look out for log wait times and identify which transactions are blocked. And in terms of servers, the primary metrics we all know is the CPU, memory, and the disk utilization in terms of server monitoring. And along with that, we have the system level performance metrics like processes and services, and the response time and the uptime of the server itself. And in server monitoring, we have supported the agent-based monitoring, that is for Windows and Linux-based operating system. So what is the major difference between agent and agentless monitor? So when you want to go with an agentless is, say you don't want any third-party programs installed on your servers, or you want support for more than Windows or Linux-based, I mean Linux OS flavors, then you can go with agentless. So when you want to go with agent-based is when you have your servers on an isolated like a DMZ zone where you cannot enable the protocols like SSH, SNMP, or WMI for communication. The credentials of the servers cannot be shared. And if you cannot open any port numbers, then you can choose agent, where you can just install an agent that could communicate to the applications manager. It's going to send out the performance metrics and the availability reports every minute. So let's take a quick look at the console of all these metrics that we've just discussed. So I'm going to go to monitors. So we are able to see this is all the categories supported in Applications Manager. There are like over 150 plus applications supported out of the box. So under the application servers, I'm going to take Tomcat as an application example. So we saw how you can onboard the monitor with the performance of a discovery as well as individually onboarding. So as soon as you onboard the monitor, you're going to start data collection for all these monitors that are added. And under the overview of Tomcat, you're going to get the server snapshot, and you're going to get the server response time, server performance, thread usage, class loading, as well as the response summary. So the response summary is key here because we can keep track of the number of requests, whether if it's error request or a success request, and the 500 responses or 400 responses can be tracked from here. And along with that, we have multiple tabs that could show you the individual performance statistics like memory utilization. It's going to keep track of the heap and the non-heap memory and the individual utilization in MB as well as in percentage. And also it shows the performance metrics for the garbage collector. And under the thread utilizations, we have the thread pool utilization, the number of threads running, because we need to be aware of the number of threads running, that they are not into a blocked state. And also we have room for more threads. So the number of busy threads as well as the percentage used and percentage free is critical when you're trying to manage the thread pools. And under the web, we keep track of the request statistics, the number of requests coming for that application, right? So this is going to show you the successful requests as well as the failed request percentage. So you know how your application or the global request processor is happening for you. Under the web applications, it shows the active sessions of all the application summary that's within the Tomcat. So you can see the status if they are started or stopped. And it also shows you the successful requests coming in for that specific application, the number of active sessions, number of open sessions, expired, as well as the rejected sessions. So this could actually put up all that information to monitor your Tomcat server. So not just Tomcat, out of the box under applications, we have support for the .NET as well as Java runtime, WebSphere, WebLogic, and more. So let's take a quick look at the Microsoft SQL parameters. So after the onboarding of the applications, we are going to get an overview that shows the availability of the database itself. And under the overview, we have some key important metrics like buffer cache hit ratio, the CPU and memory usage, buffer management statistics, and we also have the access methods, cache details, and the lock details where we keep track of lock requests per minute, lock waits per minute, and also deadlocks per minute. And under the database itself, you can keep track of the individual database running within the database server. So it's going to show you the online active status, whether if it's online or offline, and also the usage, the file usage of the data file, as well as the log file of that individual database. Not just that, if you want to drill down into that specific database, you're going to get more information out of it about the availability of that individual database, the disk utilizations, transaction details, the DBCC check information, and also the session details of that particular database. The overall session details are also available where you can keep track of the number of blocked sessions in that particular connection statistics. And when you scroll down below, you are going to have the database connection detail, which is one of the important metric. So as you can see, we have one particular login here has like 89 connections. That's not very good looking because that could lead into a disaster for that database. We can see the database name itself. So you can actually configure alarms for the database connections and get an alarm triggered whenever there is a specific threshold breach. And the session detail is going to show us more information on what are the active sessions, the runnable, sleeping, and dormant sessions. So you can see what user is utilizing that session, what host they're connected, and the database name. And you can also keep track of the session log and the blocked session here. The jobs is one of the critical metric for the database, and we keep track of the last run status of the individual jobs. You can already see that there are some jobs that are in failed state, and we have already impacted the health of that respective failed jobs. So we have a default threshold that is applied out of the box for the last run status. So if any jobs run into failed state, it will automatically trigger an alarm for you. And the backup and the restore is also one of the important aspect of database monitoring because the backup age and if the backup is successful has to be tracked. Say if you don't have a particular backup for particular hours of particular hours, we can configure a threshold and get a alarm for it. So say this particular database has not been backed up for the last 24 hours or like 48 hours, then we can trigger a SQL job action automatically for you. So we'll take a look at that shortly. And since this SQL node is part of a cluster, we are also showing the cluster information here. So you can see the cluster name or the host details, the disk utilization, storage information, and the resource groups that the cluster has. Under the always on availability groups, we keep track of the primary replica and the status of that. So when you drill down deep into it, you're also going to get the role of that particular availability group, and you're going to get the failover mode, synchronization health, connection status, and what is the actual state of that replica itself. So and one other important aspect of database monitoring is the performance, the query performance of your database. So you can keep track of all the query performances like top slow running queries, top queries by CPU, most frequently executed, most blocked queries. So this will give you a summary of all the queries that are like most blocked, what is the database that they are running. And you can also have an option to export them as PDF or Excel, send it out directly to the database team, stating that these are the queries that are in blocked state that could cause an issue with the application or the database itself, right? So you have an alarm configured here that could help you to identify what are the most blocked queries and so on. And so this could actually help with overall management of your databases. And out of the box, we have support for like over 20 plus database types. And Applications Manager is one of the strongest tool in the market for your database monitoring. And let's take a look at the server monitors. So under Windows, just going to show you the Windows monitor here. Under the overview, we keep track of the availability of the server itself, and you have the response time and the server uptime. And we have the primary metrics, that is the CPU utilization, memory utilization, and the disk utilization. When you scroll down below, we also keep track of the process details and the service details that we have given an option to add it, or you can also import them from a template. So the process details is actually key because you can keep track of your production application or business critical application processes, the number of instances that they are running on, and what is the resource consumption of that individual process, like how much CPU is my process consuming, how much memory is my process consuming, right? And we have also given the handle count of that respective process here. The service information is going to show us the availability of the service, whether if they are up or down. And you can also configure alarms for the availability of the service. And not just this, we have, similar to the other monitors, we have other tabs which gives us more information about the performance metrics. So the CPU tab is going to show us the split up by CPU cores. What is the utilization of CPU cores? And we have the disk tab that shows the different partitions and the utilization of that individual partitions, and also the disk IO statistics. The event log, if you have a log rule configured, the event log is going to show you information on, say, if you have a severity error or like a warning error that you want to keep track of, or if you have any specific event ID, if that has occurred and if you want to keep track of it, you can configure a log rule and have it tracked from the event log. The scheduled tasks is also one of the important metric in terms of monitoring, because if the scheduled task is missed, that means that some part of the server functionality is not happening. So we keep track of the last run result of the individual task, whether if it's passed or failed. So if it's passed, then it's okay. So if it's not, then you can configure alarm to get notified on that. So out of the box, there is support for like multiple server monitors, and you can onboard them and get the server performance metrics. We've also introduced a recent new monitor type, which is heartbeat monitoring. So the heartbeat monitoring functionality is it's actually going to check the pulse of the application from the applications manager, right? So how this works is you're just going to give the application the name, and it's going to give you a name to be used in ping URL. And as soon as this is created, the monitor is going to give you specific scripts that you can use from the target resource. Like if it's on a Linux, you can use like a cron job or like bash, Python, or PowerShell script. You just need to copy the script and run that on that target server where you want to check the availability. So it's not going to keep track of any performance metrics. You just need to know whether if that target resource is available, you can use this. So, and then if there is a, say at every 10 minutes, there is a signal if the script is being executed, it's going to keep the monitor up and running. So if it's not, then it's going to impact the availability, and you know that the target application or the resource is not functioning properly. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic for the day: how you can utilize AI and ML to detect anomalies and troubleshoot issues quickly. So automating critical actions. So this is automation available in Applications Manager. So we have taken an example for database backup. So in the SQL monitor, we saw how the database age could impact the backup issue of a particular database. Consider a scenario there is no backup for over 12 hours, and that is your requirement to take a backup every 12 hours. So how this flow works is, if there is no backup, the age is exceeding like 12, 13 hours, then you can configure threshold, and that will trigger an alarm, and the alarm will execute a job. So once an action is configured, so this action is automated. So whenever the backup age exceeds the set time, it automatically gets executed. So there is no manual intervention required here. So you see an issue, it automatically executes an action, it notifies it notifies the end user that there is a failure, and it also executes an action to resolve that. So this automating of critical flow is not only available for this is just an example. We have multiple action types supported, and that is going to trigger multiple actions where there is no manual intervention required to take care of the alarms and anomalies. The adaptive thresholds. The Applications Manager provides an option to raise alerts for its monitored components. So there are two major methods, standard and adaptive thresholds. So in standard, it's more of a traditional way of configuring critical warning and clear severity, say for like numeric or like string-based attributes. In terms of adaptive thresholds, we have two categories, automatic and manual. That's more of a machine learning that uses RPC algorithm. We'll take a look at that in the console shortly. Um, so before we proceed, I would just like to give you a quick information. So if you're interested in registering for the demo of Applications Manager, you will receive a pop-up on your screen with a short poll. So please give your feedback if you're interested. So let's continue. And one other major aspect of Applications Manager is reporting. And we have two key players in reporting, which is capacity planning and forecast reporting, right? So these two are, so let's consider capacity planning. That is going to give you the size of your, how your servers and virtual infrastructures are sized. Say like you can get the undersized or oversized. Based on that, you can allocate more memory or disk utilization where the actual resources required. And in forecast reporting, it uses a machine learning to do a predictive analysis on how the historical growth is, and to give you a overview of what is the expected result. So it can forecast what is the growth of a server or a database. And out of the box, we have support for over 100 plus report types. And some of the common report types that we have is availability and health report, where you can get the availability itself. And the health is going to give you a RCA message of what happened at a particular duration, how long the health was impacted. It could be due to any attribute or like response time or like the server, the SQL or the database, any service or a process issue. And the downtime summary report is going to give us how long the application had a downtime, what was the time to resolve that, and what is the start time and the end time of that particular issue. The trend analysis report is going to give us a full view or overview of all primary metrics of that particular resource. Starting with availability, it's going to have most metrics. We'll take a look at that shortly. And in terms of reports, so here we have selected response time in MS, and we have last 7 days report. So this is going to give you a hourly report as a history. That where you can keep track of the minimum and the maximum age. And you can also get the hour of the day report by selecting the specific tab. The inventory report is going to give you a full list of all applications and resources added for monitoring in applications. The dashboard and widgets is going to help you get a full view of what is happening and how your resources are and what's the state of your resource. So you don't have to go into the application every time. You can configure multiple widgets in the dashboard, create custom dashboards. You have options to integrate the dashboards with Grafana, Kibana, as well as visualize your data better, right? So we have smart widgets that could help you with showing all the performance metrics of what is being monitored. So we have some widgets like server uptime, monitor error status, business view widgets, the performance widgets, as well as the tabular data and more related to alarm data. So we'll take a look at them shortly. And so let's continue to the Applications Manager, and we'll take a look at the thresholds first. So now that we have onboarded the monitors, now we are taking a look at how you can configure the thresholds. So the threshold profile, we have the two options, numeric and string value. So the string value is based on, like, say, the last run status, whether if it's failed or succeeded. You can configure, say, I want to get a critical alert if the value is failed. And if it is passed, need a clear severity. So such that you can configure the thresholds and associated for the uh, string value attributes. For the numeric, you can configure the value, say, for example, if it's going to be a percentage related, I need an critical alarm if the percentage is like over 90%. And I need a a warning alarm if the utilization is like over 80%. And if it's less than or equal to 80, then I'm going to be clearing the alarm. So such way you can configure for the numeric attributes like percentage value or like response time, or for any attribute that has a numeric value for it. And one other adaptive threshold is where we have two types, automatic and manual. So in manual, we are going to set a baseline value. So this baseline value is dependent on a particular week data. So say if I know that the week 3 of September 2025 has a correct data, I can set that as a base value, and the current collected data will be compared to the hourly data of that base value selected. So based on that, we are going to calculate the deviation. Say I have given 30 percentage here. So the threshold limit is 30. So this is going to compare the current value with the week 3 of September 2025 for upper limit as well as the lower limit. So if there is a deviation of both sides, it's going to send an alarm, right? And in terms of automatic, we are going to make use of a RPCA algorithm, and it's going to uh, have at least 7 data points before the alarm is triggered. So it's going to perform a pattern analysis. So it's going to detect how the data is, how the growth trend is for that particular attribute. And based on the growth trend and the pattern that it has collected, if there is a deviation, it's going to send out the alarm. So we have set 30 percentage here. So if there is a deviation of upper or a lower limit of 30%, then it's going to be sending out the alarms. And we've taken a look at the SQL job action, right? So the job action, you can add jobs here. So I'm going to go to show jobs, multiple jobs. If you have a requirement, add jobs here, and you can restart the job. So what happens when a threshold is breached is you're going to get an alarm. So the alarm is going to execute a action. So say if this is for the backup age, and I need to execute this particular job, I can select a particular SQL node or any other servers and have this associated. And it also helps you notify after the job is executed properly. All right, so now we've covered your onboarding as well as the alarm configuration part. Let's take a quick look at the reports. So the reports tab will have multiple report types on the left side. And so the trend analysis report, it's going to show us the at a glance report where you can get a full view of what your um, the server monitor and all the primary metrics are. So including the availability, you are going to get the response time, the time difference, the growth trend, as well as the process details, the schedule details, the CPU core. It's going to be a full summary report of that particular server that you've selected. And you have multiple categories on the left side. So under applications, you can choose different applications here. Under databases, web servers, your URLs and middleware, and so on. And one other report we are interested to see here is the capacity planning. So this is available for servers and virtual applications, right? So you can keep track of your servers that are undersized, oversized, and idle servers. So let's take an example of the ESX monitors here. So I'm going to click on undersized, and this has like two ESX hosts here, and it says yes under undersized, and the memory utilization shows 100% of the time memory utilization is greater than 90%. So it means that the memory is really low. It's always over 90%. So we need to allocate more memory for these servers, right? And so if I click the oversized for the same ESX host, yes, it says yes again. And this time it is for the CPU utilization, of course. And it shows 100% of the time the CPU utilization is less than 50%. So there is not much usage of the CPU cores associated here. So by this way, when you can size or view how your servers and virtual infrastructures are sized, you can allocate, like take the CPU cores out of the server and make use of it in some other servers where it's actually utilized. And you can also configure the rules here based on your requirement, how the undersized and the oversized are calculated. Now let's take a quick look at the forecast reporting, and we'll consider the disk utilization of the servers. So currently it is forecasting for a month, and you can see what is the current date here and what is the next value that it is going to predict for the 9th of November 2025, right? So let's consider this disk utilization, SQL Server Windows C drive. The current utilization is like 94, and on November 19th, I'm sorry, 9th 2025, it is going to be full. So we know that in a month's time it's going to be full. And it also shows like what will be the 90% usage and the 100% usage, the exact date of it. So we can know that on 10th of October it's going to be like 90%, and at 24th of October it's going to be full. So similarly, you can do a predictive analysis or for like 6 months or 1 year, and this is going to be for your disks as well as the other supported metrics. So you can know what are the supported monitor types here to perform a forecast reporting. So this could really help to see where our application's growth is and how and where it's going to be full. So you can avoid a major disaster that you can foresee. And let's take a quick look at the dashboards. So this is a default dashboards that's available out of the box. Obviously, you can customize it. And so there are major widgets like heat map widgets that are going to show me the status of that individual applications, like how many applications or resources in critical state, warning and clear, the monitor status overview, the tabular data. It's going to give us the key performance metrics that you can customize, as well as the alarm summary, the recent alarms, the performance metric widgets. So you can have an option to create a new dashboard here that will allow you to customize your own widgets. So you can create widgets based on your requirements. And you also have an option to associate the users who has access to view this particular dashboard. So there are different roles here that you can choose. And if you need an option to give access to all users, you can check this box and it will allow the all users to have access to that particular dashboard. And you can also publish the dashboard. So say you have network operations center, or you have your CIO or CTO who is requiring to monitor like critical processes or applications. You can customize that particular application alone or that particular metric alone as a widget and have this iframe URL published that does not require any credentials. And we've also introduced an option where you can publish individual widgets. So you can, if I need to just publish this heat map widget, I can get the iframe URL out of it. And it is easy to customize the widgets to to resize now. So you can like just drag and drop the widgets to adjust it for your particular requirement. Right? So let's move on to the last topic for the day, Applications Manager with built-in integrations. We have direct integrations with ManageEngine, which is our own integrations, Alarms One, Analytics Plus, Service Desk Plus, and also third-party integrations like Prometheus, ServiceNow, and Slack integrations. So what are the key benefits of having these integrations? You get end-to-end visibility, performance insights, more efficient in reporting, and also it helps to avoid SLA breach. So we have Service Desk or ServiceNow integration, which helps you to log a ticket whenever there is an alarm, right? And it also has the capability to sync your configuration items with Applications Manager. And the automated workflow could help you achieve more and faster resolution to your to the application issues that is being reported. And we also have Microsoft Teams integrations. You can make use of the Teams Graph API or Teams connector, where you can directly send the alarm as a message to your respective Microsoft Teams channel, which will be visible for a larger audience. And we have the Analytics Plus integration. This is ManageEngine's Analytics Plus, the advanced analytics. So this has an integration with Applications Manager, where it's going to pull the data for you, and it's going to give you more graphical dashboard related and reporting formats. And you can also fast track report generation with augmented analytics. And we also have support for mobile applications in Applications Manager. So if you have Android as well as iPhone, you can install the application and connect it to your respective Applications Manager, log in, and you can get an overview of all the monitors, monitor groups, subgroups, and also the availability and health status of each and every individual resource. You can also get critical alarms in the application, and we've also introduced the metrics for APM Insight recently. And these are the available editions for Applications Manager. So we have free edition, professional, and enterprise. So the free edition supports up to 5 monitors with fewer restrictions, and it's free forever. The professional is going to support up to 500 applications, and it's for medium enterprise. The enterprise is going to be for requirements where you want to monitor 500 and above monitors that can scale up to like 10,000 monitors. So it's more of a distributed setup where you have one central and multiple probes deployed in different locations, right? So let's take a quick look at how the integrations are seen here. So under settings, you have integrations and add-ons. So here you can see we have already integrated ServiceNow. So I'm just going to edit and see what are the options here. So we are integrated with ServiceNow, where you can log a ticket whenever there is an alarm. So you have options to use credentials or OAuth, and also have an option to notify if there is a connectivity failure between Applications Manager and the ServiceNow platform. And we have two major options: whether you can log these events, that is these alarms, as events in ServiceNow, or you can log them as a ticket. So you can enable only one option. So for events, you need to give additional permission that is required to log the event in the ServiceNow. And under log a ticket, we have more advanced setting, right? So if you're logging a ticket, so what happens when an alarm is raised for a closed ticket? Do you want to reopen a ticket, or do you want to create a new ticket? And what happens in the update settings is, like, say, if when the severity of an alarm is changed, like from critical to warning or like clear, what do you want to do with that ticket? Do you want to update the notes or like close the ticket? So such advanced settings for logging a ticket could automate the process for you. Like, you're not only logging a ticket, but you're also updating the nodes with the severity changes happening in the target resource. And you also have an option to sync your configuration items and exclude the uh, required. Like, if you have deleted a resource, you can choose the options what happens with Applications Manager on that, right? So under integrations, we also have the Prometheus platform. We have Slack integrations. So for Prometheus, you can choose what is the Prometheus server and what type of applications that you want to discover. So for now, we support Kubernetes, Nginx, OpenShift, and Tomcat server under the Prometheus integrations. So we have more integrations out of the box here. And you can also make use of webhook or REST API for the integrations, for any third-party integrations that is available under actions. So we are almost at the end of the training series. So let's do a quick recap of what we discovered, what we discussed today. So first, we had a review of how you can perform a discovery in Applications Manager and how you can map the dependencies of your discovered applications. And then we took a look at how you can keep track of key performance metrics of your applications, databases, servers, and also we discussed a new monitor, heartbeat monitor. And then we saw how you can create machine learning based thresholds to detect anomalies. You can create reports as well as dashboards for better visibility of what's happening in your infrastructure. And then we also take a look at the integrations available in Applications Manager. All right, I thank everyone for you joining the session today. I hope the session was helpful and informative for you. And so in case if you need to take a look at how the app manager looks like, you can visit the website demo.appmanager and you can drop an email to us.